The underestimated species. For over 3 millennia, the Zentari Empire had reigned unchallenged across the stars. Their sleek obsidian vessels prowl through the cosmos like predators, their graviton cannons reducing any opposition to cosmic dust. The Zentari considered themselves the pinnacle of evolution. Tall, luminescent beings with cranial capacities 3 times that of the average sentient species. Their skin shimmered with bioluminescent patterns that shifted with their moods, though pride was the emotion most commonly displayed in the grand halls of the imperial nexus. The discovery of Earth and its inhabitants had been a source of great amusement for the Zentari High Council. Humans, with their fragile forms and primitive spacecraft that still relied on chemical propulsion, were viewed as little more than clever animals that had somehow stumbled into the galactic community. When the first human diplomatic vessel arrived at the edge of Zentari space, the transmission was broadcast throughout the Empire as entertainment. "Look at their pitiful vessel," Supreme Overlord Zex Terrell remarked, his skin pulsing with patterns of amusement. "It would take them generations to cross what our ships traverse in days." The council chamber erupted in laughter as the human ambassador, dressed in what the Zentari considered childishly formal attire, requested peaceful relations and trade agreements. The humans spoke of mutual benefit, of cultural exchange, of sharing knowledge, concepts that the Zentari found quaint and naive. "They offer us friendship," mocked War Minister Krelnar, her skin flashing with derision. What could these primitive beings possibly offer the Zentari Empire? The delegation was humored with a token audience, then sent away with patronizing assurances that the Zentari would consider their proposals. Behind closed doors, the council debated whether humans would be more valuable as a source of labor or simply as subjects for their zoological gardens. Unknown to the Zentari, the humans who returned to Earth carried with them more than just the sting of condescension. They carried resolve. For while the Zentari had been expanding outward for millennia, humans had been looking inward, delving into the quantum realm where the conventional rules of physics became malleable. In the laboratories beneath the Himalayan mountains and the subterranean facilities of the Mariana Trench, human scientists had been perfecting what they called dimensional displacement technology. The principles were deceptively simple. Instead of traveling through space, why not simply fold space itself? The execution, however, had required generations of the brightest minds Earth had to offer. When the diplomatic delegation returned with recordings of the Zentari's dismissive attitude, Earth's Unified Defense Council made a momentous decision: the dimensional displacement technology, until then a closely guarded secret, would become humanity's shield and sword. Over the next 5 years, as the Zentari continued to expand their empire into systems ever closer to Earth, humanity transformed its fleet. Conventional engines were replaced with displacement drives. Military doctrine was rewritten from the ground up. Soldiers and pilots trained relentlessly in simulators that mimicked the capabilities of their new vessels, all while maintaining the facade of a species struggling to achieve even basic interstellar travel. The Zentari's intelligence networks reported what Earth wanted them to see: failed launches, rudimentary weapons tests, and political squabbling over resources. Each report reinforced the Empire's belief in human inferiority, and fatally, their complacency. When the Zentari detected unusual energy signatures from Earth's solar system, they dismissed them as desperate attempts to develop more efficient propulsion systems. When their long-range sensors occasionally lost track of Earth vessels, they attributed it to the limitations of their detection systems when dealing with such insignificant targets. The breaking point came when Earth established a small colony on a resource-rich planet that the Zentari had marked for future exploitation. Though the planet was well outside of current Zentari territory, the High Council viewed this expansion as an affront to their divine right to rule the stars. "These humans have grown too bold," declared Supreme Overlord Zex Terrell, his skin now pulsing with patterns of irritation. "They encroach on worlds destined for our glory. This presumption must be answered." The decision to attack Earth was made with casual cruelty, like stepping on an insect that had wandered too close to one's foot. A battle group of 30 warships, far more than necessary, in the Zentary's estimation, was dispatched to Earth with orders to reduce major cities to ash and accept humanity's inevitable surrender. Admiral Vex Korath, commander of the battle group, approached the assignment with boredom. His career had been built on crushing species far more advanced than humans. His vessels carried enough firepower to glass the surface of Earth 3 times over. The only challenge he mused would be deciding which human cities to destroy first as examples. The Zentary fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Sol system, expecting to catch Earth's primitive detection systems by surprise. Instead, they found the system seemingly undefended. No patrol ships, no orbital platforms, no signs of the colony vessels their intelligence had tracked. For a moment, Admiral Vex Korath wondered if the humans had somehow detected their approach and fled. "Proceed to Earth orbit," he commanded, his skin patterns displaying mild confusion. "Prepare bombardment sequences for their largest population centers." As the Zentary fleet accelerated toward Earth, the Admiral's tactical officer suddenly called out in alarm. Energy surge detected. Multiple signatures appearing everywhere. Where empty space had existed moments before, hundreds of human vessels now hung in the void, surrounding the Zentary battle group in a 3-dimensional encirclement. Unlike the crude ships the Zentary had observed before, these vessels were sleek, angular, and bristling with weapons that hummed with power. "Impossible," whispered Admiral Vex Korath as his skin paled to a ghostly white. "How did they?" Before he could finish his thought, his ship's communication system activated. A human face appeared on the main view screen. Admiral Helena Chen of Earth's Unified Defense Fleet. "Zentary vessels," she said calmly, "you have entered Earth-protected space with hostile intent. Power down your weapon systems and prepare to be boarded." Admiral Vex Korath's shock quickly gave way to outrage. "You dare to threaten the might of the Zentary Empire? Your primitive vessels are no match for even one of our warships." Admiral Chen's expression didn't change. "You misunderstand, Admiral. This isn't a threat. It's a courtesy notice." Before Vex Korath could respond, multiple human vessels vanished from their positions, only to reappear seconds later directly alongside each Zentary warship. The humans had somehow traversed kilometers of space instantaneously, bypassing the Zentary's defensive screens entirely. That's impossible," stammered the tactical officer, his skin now displaying patterns of fear that had not been seen on a Zentary in generations. As the Zentary crew watched in disbelief, human soldiers materialized directly on their bridge in flashes of blue light, weapons raised and aimed at vital systems and personnel. The mighty Zentary Empire, which had dismissed humans as barely worth noticing, was about to learn a lesson in humility and the true cost of underestimating those they deemed inferior. The reversal of fortune. Supreme Overlord Zex Terrell's skin had gone completely colorless, a phenomenon not witnessed in a Zentary ruler for 12 generations. The holoprojection before him showed the unthinkable. The pride of the Zentary fleet surrounded and infiltrated by human vessels that appeared and disappeared at will, bypassing shields and defenses that had protected the Empire for millennia. "How is this possible?" he demanded, his voice echoing through the now silent council chamber. "Our intelligence indicated they were centuries away from developing even basic gravitic drives." The Empire's chief scientist, Vel Korax, trembled visibly. "The humans, they appear to have mastered some form of dimensional displacement technology. They're not traveling through space. They are folding it, creating quantum tunnels that allow instantaneous transportation. And you did not foresee this." Zex Terrell's rage manifested as jagged crimson patterns across his skin. We dismissed their research in quantum physics as theoretical. Their papers discussed concepts that our scientists believed were centuries from practical application." The bitter truth dawned on the council. While the Zentary had been looking outward, conquering and subjugating, the humans had been looking inward, unlocking the fundamental secrets of reality itself. Back in the Sol system, Admiral Vex Korath found himself in the unprecedented position of considering surrender. Human soldiers had materialized throughout his flagship, securing critical systems before the Zentari crew could even react. Similar reports flooded in from the other vessels in his battle group. "You lied to us," Vex Korath accused Admiral Chen, whose image still dominated his command screen. "You presented yourselves as primitive, as weak." Admiral Chen's expression remained impassive. "We never lied, Admiral. We simply allowed you to believe what you wanted to believe. Your arrogance did the rest." The human admiral's words cut deeper than any weapon could have. For the first time in his long career, Vex Korath faced not just military defeat, but the collapse of his entire worldview. "The Zentari Empire will not stand for this," he warned, attempting to regain some semblance of dignity. "We control thousands of worlds, millions of warships. This battle group is but a fraction of our might. A fraction that we neutralized in minutes," Chen responded coolly. "But this doesn't have to escalate further. We're offering terms." The terms, when presented, were shockingly reasonable. The Zentari would withdraw from several contested border systems, recognize Earth's right to colonize unclaimed worlds, and enter into non-aggression pacts with several species they had been preparing to subjugate. In return, the humans would release the captured battle group and share limited aspects of their technology. While Vex Korath transmitted these terms to the High Council, Earth's teleporting fleet wasn't idle. Human vessels appeared and disappeared throughout Zentari space, materializing next to military installations, shipyards, and command centers long enough to demonstrate their presence before vanishing again. The message was clear: nowhere in the Empire was beyond their reach. In the Imperial Nexus, panic was setting in. Reports flooded in from across Zentari territory, human ships appearing without warning, scanning their defenses, then disappearing before countermeasures could be deployed. They were mapping the Empire's military capabilities, and there seemed to be nothing the Zentari could do to stop them. War Minister Krulnar, her skin now pulsing with anxiety, addressed the Council. "We must accept their terms. Our defenses are designed to repel conventional attacks. Against an enemy that can bypass our shields and appear directly inside our installations, we are vulnerable in ways we never anticipated. Surrender to humans." Zex Terrell's voice dripped with incredulity. "We would lose all standing among the galactic powers. We will lose far more if we fight," Krulnar countered. "Our entire defense doctrine is obsolete against their technology." As the Council debated, the humans escalated their demonstrations of power. A squadron of Earth vessels teleported directly into the space above the Zentari homeworld, bypassing the planet's defensive grid entirely. They remained just long enough to broadcast a simple message to the planet's population: "The High Council's decisions in the next hour will determine the future of your civilization." Then they vanished, leaving the Zentari population in turmoil and the High Council in disarray. In a private chamber adjacent to the Council Hall, Supreme Overlord Zex Terrell conferred with his most trusted advisors. The Empire had two options: accept humiliation now or risk annihilation later. "If we agree to their terms," one elder counselor suggested, "we can use the time to develop countermeasures against their teleportation technology." "And if no countermeasures exist?" another questioned. "If this is truly a fundamental advancement that renders our defenses obsolete?" The debate raged until a junior science officer, trembling with fear at addressing such august company, spoke up. "Honored ones, I've analyzed the transmissions from the human vessels. Their teleportation technology. It's not just a weapon. It's a complete paradigm shift in how they approach space travel, resource distribution, even planetary development." "Explain," demanded Zex Terrell. "The energy requirements for their displacement drives decrease exponentially with use. They're not just building better warships. They're creating a post-scarcity civilization. Within decades, they could eliminate resource competition as a cause for conflict entirely." The implications stunned the room into silence. The humans weren't just challenging the Zentari militarily. They were advancing beyond the economic and resource-based foundations that had driven the Empire's expansion for millennia. After 26 hours of tense negotiations, the Zentari Empire formally accepted the human terms. Admiral Vexkoroth's battle group was released, though stripped of several key weapon systems that the humans wished to study. The Zentari withdrew from the contested border systems, and non-aggression pacts were signed with the species they had targeted for conquest. But the true transformation came in the years that followed. The brief but decisive confrontation with Earth had shattered the Zentari's sense of innate superiority. Younger generations, inspired by human ingenuity, began to question the Empire's millennia-old policies of expansion and subjugation. Scientific resources, once directed primarily toward weapons development, were redirected toward fundamental research and quality-of-life improvements. A decade after the confrontation, a new supreme overlord, the reformist Zexferel, took unprecedented action. He traveled to Earth personally, not as a conqueror, but as a diplomatic equal, to formalize a research partnership between Zentari and human scientists. Standing before the assembled representatives of Earth's nations, his skin displaying patterns of sincere respect, Zexferel spoke words that would have been unthinkable in his predecessor's time. For too long, the Zentari Empire measured advancement by the worlds we conquered and the species we subjugated. You humans showed us a different path, that true civilization is measured not by dominion over others, but by mastery of ourselves and the fundamental forces of the universe. Together, we can build a galaxy where intelligence and creativity are valued above force and intimidation. As human and Zentari scientists began collaborating, combining Earth's breakthroughs in quantum manipulation with the Empire's millennia of accumulated knowledge in other fields, new technologies emerged that transformed life throughout the galaxy. Teleportation networks eliminated resource scarcity. Instantaneous communication fostered cultural exchange between formerly isolated species. The foundations were laid for a genuine galactic community. And throughout the known universe, a new saying emerged among spacefaring civilizations: never judge a species by the size of their ships, but by the depth of their understanding. It was a lesson the once mighty Zentari Empire had learned at great cost, and one they would never forget.